Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Anne-Marie Green, and of course, we're beginning this morning with Donald Trump insisting the Republican National Convention proceed. The former president is reportedly in good spirits after Saturday's shocking assassination attempt at a campaign rally in western Pennsylvania that left one person in the crowd dead. So at this hour, the former president is in Milwaukee. He arrived there yesterday for the convention, which starts today, just over 24 hours after the attempt on his life. Trump told one news outlet he's changing his speech this week to be more inclusive. In a rare primetime Oval Office address, President Biden made his own push for unity, calling for the temperature to come down on political rhetoric, saying that there is no place for violence in our politics or anywhere.
You know, the political record in this country has gotten very heated. It's time to cool it down. We all have a responsibility to do that. The power to change America should always rest in the hands of the people, not in the hands of would-be assassins.
Well, Biden announced earlier in the day that he ordered an independent review of the shooting.
Take a look at what happened.
And here's what happened. As Trump addressed a crowd of supporters on Saturday, the sound of gunfire. You can see Trump react as something appears to hit his ear. He ducks down. He is surrounded by Secret Service, and there is blood dripping from the side of his face. He then asks for his shoes, and he asks the Secret Service to wait before escorting him off the stage so he can raise his fist in the air and yell one word, fight. In an interview with the Post Sunday, Trump recalled what he called a, quote, very surreal experience, saying that he would be dead if he had not turned his head at the right moment. The shooter has been identified as 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks from a suburb of Pittsburgh, Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. We know that he fired from the rooftop of a building just about 400 feet from the stage, and we know he was killed seconds later. And investigators believe he acted alone. We do not yet know his motive. And we have live TV coverage for you from Pennsylvania to Milwaukee to the White House. We're going to start, though, with CBS News correspondent Meg Oliver. She's joining us now to talk a little bit more about the victims because, of course, Meg, aside from the shooter, there was another man killed, a spectator who was at the rally with his family. What can you tell us about him?
Anne-Marie, good morning. It's just heartbreaking. 50-year-old Comperatore was a husband, a veteran firefighter, and a father of two. He died trying to shield his family from the gunfire at the Trump rally. As I mentioned, he was a veteran firefighter at the Buffalo Township Fire Department, where he started in 1994 and earned lifetime status. When we were there yesterday, his gear was still hanging in his locker. We talked to a lot of his colleagues yesterday who described him as a family man, devoted to his wife and children, and they were completely heartbroken. His wife, Helen, posted a tribute online yesterday saying that her husband died the hero he always was. He would have it no other way. We also know that the two other victims that are still here at Allegheny General Hospital in Pittsburgh, 57-year-old David Dutch and 74-year-old James Copenhaver, have been upgraded from critical to stable condition. Anne-Marie?
Well, that's at least some good news for them. And what are we learning now about the shooter?
So that there's still a lot of unanswered questions out there, but what we know now is that the FBI says it appears that he acted alone. He was not on the Bureau's radar. They raided his home yesterday, which is about an hour south of here in Pittsburgh in Bethel Park. They did find explosive devices inside his home and his vehicle. His neighborhood and the residents nearby, they had to evacuate yesterday. They have been allowed to return home. But there are still so many unanswered questions, like how in the world was he able to climb on top of that building and have such a direct shot at the former president of the United States? We know now that there were witnesses trying to alert authorities to his presence, and yet it still happened. It is still just the big unanswered question of how was that security breached?
Completely. Well, the Butler County District Attorney spoke a little bit about the security and how that was able to happen. I want to play some sound.
I would have expected that they would have had that under control, and I'm sure they did. You know, don't know how this happened, but that's something that, yeah, there was some opportunity, obviously, that an individual could have snuck there if they really found a way. I just thought they would have had that covered.
All right, Meg, so we know that there's an investigation underway now. You know, you and I have both attended events where the Secret Service has been in charge of security. And you know they go through the entire area days in advance. It's very limited who has access to this area at this point, and it's really early in the investigation. Do we have any information about how things are unfolding?
Well, that's the thing, Anne Marie, because we know that there was the inner circle and then the outer circle at the fairgrounds where this all happened. And the inner circle, it took hours for people to go through security checks and to come in. And so it seemed like an extensive security check. And we know that there were snipers behind the stage on top of a building. But how in the world was there a building less than a football field away that was considered in the outer area, but still somebody had access to climb on top of that? As you mentioned, we have both been on assignments where we have gone around cities and you see snipers up on top of different buildings, on top of every single building. In a security situation like that, this one, that is the big unanswered question, how that happened.
Yeah. Meg Oliver, thank you so much.